what has the advent of the Internet meant to you as a writer? Entirely. I mean, whether it's research or just how you market yourself.
Pros and cons.
Mm-hmm.
On the pro side, it's very easy to find out very quickly a little detail that you would need to know. You can Google something, and sometimes I will Google something just to start my research, and then I expand from there. The best research I do is when I go out in the field and I talk to people and I see the things for myself. But it makes it very easy to get a quick detail or a quick hit on something.
And you find that a plus.
I find that a huge plus.
Yeah.
You can reach a lot of people on the Internet. We have a website. I put my website together about 6 years ago. Before that, I never really wanted a website because every author website I went to, it was like if you breathed on the screen, your Visa was charged for all of the books. There's software that does that. You ever gotten a funny bill on your Visa? Well, you got all the James Patterson collection. Well, that's how it happened. Yeah. So I put together a website just because we had a lot of people who would write fan letters. Gee, we'd like to know more about you, et cetera, et cetera. And mine's very non-commercial. You can't buy anything on my website. You can learn more about me in the books. All the charities I'm involved in are hot linked. There's a lot on there. So, and you reach a lot of people that way.
Mm-hmm.
We probably get 1 million hits a month on that website.
Yeah, that's
and
excellent.
a lot of emails and a lot of fan letters.
And you have message boards, or you have
all the discussion boards and all that.
Do you
yeah.
go on and converse with your fans online?
I do.
Real time?
I do. In fact, if I'm sort of I haven't been on for a couple of weeks, they let me know. You know, they said, "Oh, well, if you're going to have a discussion board, you need to discuss. Come on."
Do you get up in the middle of the night and read the boards?
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I'm up late writing. I'll jump on there and see what people are talking about.
Mail?
Yeah, and see what people are talking. And it's not all good stuff. Some people get on there to really, cream me.
Yeah. Okay. So, do you have the kind of personality where you can read reams of good stuff and it flows right through you, and you see one negative, and then you're hung up on it the rest of the day?
Yeah, I try not to let that happen. It depends on how negative that negative is. Sometimes,
Does one stand out?
Well, one guy wrote the book called The Camel Club, the first in the Camel Club series, and it took a very different take on sort of the terrorist issue. I was trying to figure out what makes good people turn into terrorists, and maybe some of the things foreign policy-wise we've done as a country just to explore these issues. Mm-hmm. And it was not your good guy, bad guy kind of book. It was like, gee, let's try to figure out why this is so very complex. And I got occasional death threats, tons of hate mail from people. One guy wrote in and said, the only reason you can write crap like this is because you live in the United States of America where you have the right to freedom of speech, so don't ever exercise it.
So shut your mouth.
Yeah, I was like, so anyway, I wrote the vice president back. And that last part was fictional.
Dear Mr. Cheney.
I just made that one up. But that was a real email that I got from somebody. So but words are supposed to do that. I actually wrote him back, saying, I'm glad you're angry. Feel something.
Yeah.
You can be mad at me, but feel something.
What percentage of your email can you rationally get answered?
Well, I get a big stack every morning that's printed out and put on my desk.
Oh, it's printed out, so you're not there.
Yeah. The email, I can see it on the screen, but I also, a lot of times, if it's just typical
You're
sort of
tactile writer.
Yeah, I'm a tactile. I still edit longhand with the red pen, but it's I try to read as many as I possibly can, and certainly my staff will give me the ones that are very unusual.
Right.
I probably don't get everyone that says, "Gee, I love your books,"
mm-hmm.
and that's all they say. It's very nice, and I love that they love my books, but that doesn't necessarily require an answer from me.
Right.
But the unusual ones, they'll give me. I'll read them, mm-hmm. and I'll dictate out a response.
Have you ever from a fan, whether it was an email or a letter, old-fashioned letter that was written to you, derived an idea that then ended up in one of your books?
I get a lot of letters that people would like me to do that.
Oh, I'm sure. I have no doubt about that. I just wondered if anything ever did plant a seed.
No, it never has because one, I have just a lot of my own ideas, and two, you have to be careful about that too.
Oh, absolutely.
We get a lot of people who come to my book signings. Years ago, they would bring books and manuscripts and screenplays, and when you read it and
put away all those manuscripts and screenplays right now.
well, early on, I would take them just because I wanted to be polite about it.
I didn't want. Guy.
But then after a while, I just told them I couldn't do it for legal reasons.
Yeah. Well, no, that makes sense. Your first book was written on what? A typewriter and longhand?
It was written on two different things. It was written on a IBM Selectric machine. And then right sort of in the middle of that, I got a Learning Edge or something computer company. It's no longer in business. They've been out forever. It was like, I don't know, 1 kilobyte hard drive, where it took like a day and a half to spell check the manuscript. It literally did. I would like hit spell check. I'd go up. I'd go out and run some errands. I'd have breakfast. I'd have dinner. I'd come back. It was on like page 30.
Did you stand back and look at this thing and wonder, do I really want to work on this?
And the screen was tiny.
Yeah,
it was like back then, and people figured, I need a big screen at all. These things aren't going to catch on anyway. A computer, they're going to be gone.
We're only talking, 11 years ago?
Yeah, but things have changed.
Oh, they've changed dynamically.
Well, when I first started practicing law, I was the first lawyer in my law firm to have a computer. And the only reason I did is because I went down to the supply thing, and they'd gotten this machine in that was a computer, and I just grabbed it. I thought it was kind of cool. But it was the printer was, the holes on the side printer that always jammed in the thing, but everybody else, every lawyer I ever practiced with, they never used a computer. They would always dictate.
Now they do. And then they warn all their clients constantly about email. So you wrote your first book on the Selectric, and then this computer that's probably now in the Smithsonian because of its age, but. And you were writing and working as a practicing lawyer. So when were you coming home and working after work?
Yeah, typically what I would do is...
or did you work at work?
No, I wish I could have, but I was a trial lawyer, so your days were pretty full.
Yeah.
And rarely were you actually in your office that much. I would come home at night, and I was married to Michelle, and we had one child back then. And... they would go to sleep eventually, and I would go down a little cubby hole that I wrote in, and I would just write in the middle of the night. So I wrote usually from 10 o'clock at night until 2 o'clock in the morning, 5 or 6 nights a week. And I know that sounds sort of draconian, but that was my time. As a lawyer, I was paid to write things for other people.
Right.
I was paid to solve problems, and other people didn't want to.
Not nearly as much fun, though.
So that was my outlet. That was my catharsis to run down and write my fiction.
Now, were you ever in the process of interrogating a witness, but simultaneously having a good idea for one of your characters and needing to go jot it down somewhere?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, that happened all the time. I practiced law with quite a few characters, actually.
So where did you put your notes? Did you just keep a little notepad in your pocket, or could you just remember it?
Remember it. I mean, as a trial lawyer, you have to have a pretty good memory anyway. And I never forgot things that made a deep impact on me. Even as a kid, I was always very curious about people. I would love to just sit and watch people and see how they talk to each other. And when I was in law school, I would walk down the hallways at UVA and sort of eavesdrop on conversations. I actually thought I had a mental condition that that maybe medication could cure at some point. But that's what writers do.
Chauncey Gardner.
We are, yeah. I'm just an idiot savant walking around.
You want to watch.
I'm channeling something else.
Now, nobody's first book is really their first book, but it was your first book that got published and was a hit. How long did it incubate? I mean, this was your first time doing a set of characters. Did it take longer than the ensuing books? Yeah,
it did. Absolute Power took me about 3 years to write and finish.
And that was because you weren't doing only it?
Yeah,
or because you hadn't honed those skills yet?
Well, I was also pursuing a screenplay writing career, and I actually had a screenplay agent in Los Angeles that I'd gotten, which is very difficult to do because I have to tell you, most people in Hollywood, they're not even aware there's a state called Virginia.
And the East Coast is one city called New York.
Yeah, I've been in producers' meetings in Hollywood, and they know that I'm from another part of the country, and I say I'm from Virginia, and they say, oh, and where is that? And that's on the East Coast.
Isn't that nice?
And they said, is that a county or a town? And I said, no, it's a state. And they were like, oh, that's interesting.
Did you think at a time that you would prefer to be a screenwriter than a novelist? Or were you trying both out?
It was a real challenge for me because I had a friend who went out to L.A. to break into film as a producer, and he was out there for 3 years, worked really hard. He didn't make it, like a lot of people, like most people. And he came back and he brought a script that was unproduced at that time. This was like in the late 80s. And he asked me to read it, and I did, and tell him what I thought of it, and I thought it just sucked. You know, it was just there was no character development. All the humor was potty humor. It was just not a story. It was a series of disjointed vignettes. And I was convinced I wanted to make a film out of this drivel, but Austin Powers went on to become an enormous hit. You know, it was a franchise film. Probably nobody here saw it, but millions of your fellow citizens did and loved it.